The sun generates light, and its power is shown throughout the solar system, warming the Earth and the other planets. And this light is reflected, to a lesser degree, by the moon, who requires the sun for the light that it emits. Extrapolating from this natural phenomenon, and interpreting the takeaway from nature as moral instruction, Pope Innocent III, around the year 1200, affirmed and repeated the claim that the Pope and Emperor of the Romans were the sun and moon, the former higher than the latter in subject and means. The Sun and Moon Allegory, or doctrine, was a method of explaining the idea that the Pope, as ruler of matters spiritual, was also ruler of matters temporal. The claim was that while each had their own immediate domain, where the priests prayed and the emperor ruled, the Pope's and clergy's domain had sovereignty over the emperor and could depose him, perhaps, depriving then the moon of its light. Soon after Innocent III's passing, the Fourth Lateran Council reaffirmed the idea of the Sun and Moon doctrine by presenting a list of punishments for temporal rulers who might refuse to stop heresy spreading after being admonished by the bishops. The ruler's vassals might be freed of their obedience and be given permission to claim the territory of their former patron with the full sanction of the clergy. This was an incredible threat and attack that the Church was making against those who tried to protect heretics. Building and expounding on this doctrine of the sun and moon, Pope Boniface VIII, in his very famous bull Unum Sanctam, presented a fresh argument on the plenitudo potestatis pontificis, the plenipotentiary power of the Pope. He said that there exists two swords crossed against one another at times. Two things striking necessitates one to be above the other. And the spiritual sword must always be above the temporal. This was the idea. A rather simple argument, but incredibly important in the political situation at the time when the Church was trying to get a handle over investiture controversies, where the kings and emperor were the ones encroaching on the spiritual power by trying to claim the capacity to choose bishops and, very importantly, to collect the revenues of monastic lands. Ultimately, after attempted assassinations, kidnappings of two popes, and several hundred years of the papacy in captivity in Avignon, the Church largely affirmed the teachings of the Two Swords Doctrine and still does teach this as the natural mode of the world. From the moment that Leo III crowned Charlemagne and invoked a translatio imperii, a translation, a movement of the empire, changing from what we now call Byzantium to what is now known as the Holy Roman Emperor, although at the time just the Roman Empire, a curious question was opened, which took 500 years to answer. What are the boundaries of the Pope and the Emperor's powers, and how do they interact with one another? If you're interested in learning about the crowning of Charlemagne, please click the button in the corner to see that video. And if you have any questions, please ask below. I'm planning to post 2 or 3 times a week, and I have a great list of questions I'm researching to be able to share the answers with you. So please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Take care.